Oh, my glasses.
Be careful. I am very washed out today. Like this made it too bright?
Oh, the chat. I forgot the chat.
Oh, right.
Very sorry. There we are. Hello, everybody.
Do you think I should shut the blinds?
No.
No, also I want my basil plant to be in the sunshine. I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
shut the
yeah,
blinds.
yeah.
Did you see it came back to life? I think it was thirsty.
Oh, well, that's good. Jesse's got a new basil plant, but this is an experiment. It's not as big a basil plant. So,
Is your hair going for a little journey?
Yeah. Anyway, there was something important I wanted. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the reason we were a little late was I was trying yet again to hook Jesse's computer up so I could use her camera as an input source. I was going to try to do something different, but that would not have actually required a wire, now that I think about it. But that, it just wasn't, it wasn't working. I was essentially going to try to beam it, to project your screen onto mine via, like, the AirPlay.
Feels like a lot of elements going.
I don't understand.
Just to get my camera, and I do not enjoy having my whole screen as part of it, because the number of times I just don't think about opening things and whatnot.
No, like it's not your whole screen.
If I were being projected.
Well, yeah, but it was just an experiment. It wasn't going to be the thing. Here, let's try something.
But also, Mateus has been very busy, but is still here.
Armatase?
Armatase. And hello to all the hellos. It's so good to see you. David's excited too.
Well, I'm trying to AirPlay right now, and I'm looking at this, and it doesn't list your computer as a potential destination, but it does list mine. And oddly enough,
my computer does not like you.
The thing that it says is the destination. Look at the icon. It's like treating my computer like an Apple TV.
Oh, it is. Sorry, I was looking at the top. The picture. Is that your...
That was what I was going to project to you, but
Gotcha.
Didn't work.
Okay.
Didn't work. Anyway.
That's a good picture. I was just like trying to figure out. I thought that's what they thought your computer icon was.
My what?
Never mind.
I got distracted. You know what?
Let's just move on, David.
You know what the problem is with young people and screens?
They never get off them and pay attention to the other screen where we actually have people.
That's right. There's a more important screen to look at right now. Oh, goodness. Oh, Bubba's up in time for dinner. All right. So, first things first.
Oh, apparently that was loud. Don't throw your phone anymore.
You know what? Those darn people in their phones, those young people.
They go dropping those phones.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Magpie has joined Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley is very fun, but also has an element to it that's unlike any other game that I've experienced, or at least that I can call to memory, that it reifies a certain stress from real life that other games have not. Which is knowing that, like, you wake up and it's like, I want to do this, this, and this, and I'm not going to be able to do all those things. Because at a certain point in time, you just faint.
That's what the spa is for.
No, I mean, at 2 a.m., doesn't matter if you're in the spa,
You gotta go to bed. You gotta be reasonable about your day. And really, you should not wake up in Stardew and say, I want to do this, this, and this. It should really be just a couple light things and then one major thing.
No, it's
Well,
It's
okay.
too many things.
I want to say two things to this point, though.
Yeah.
One is that David is playing with Meridian, and if you've ever played Stardew in multiplayer mode, then you know that your clock never stops.
That's true.
And so it is a very different experience when just checking your inventory could take 10 minutes away from game time, and 10 minutes in Stardew World, not in the real world. But like suddenly your clock is forging ahead as all you're trying to do is figure out if your fishing pole is in your backpack. And then you look back in Stardew, it's 30 minutes later because the clock never stops in multiplayer mode. And so that is one reason your day goes so fast.
Yeah.
And that I do want to point that out because you could get a lot of like downtime just thinking, just by opening your inventory in regular mode, everything pauses and you get to like kind of reset. And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, something else I've discovered now that we've progressed far enough. There is, in the sewers, there's a vendor that sells an item for 2 million gold.
Oh, the little returny thingy?
Yeah, that transports you to your home. This might be familiar to World of Warcraft players as a Hearthstone, which is the only item that all players begin the game with.
I gotta say, though, like, I never, and like, it's really funny listening to David and Meridian play because they are very different Stardew players than I am. And it's really funny because I never struggled with the gotta get home by midnight thing. I also, like, literally in one game got a horse and then realized it was really kind of useless.
What?
Because you can run faster if you have the speed boost and everything. You could just
Not that faster. I've got the speed boost.
And it's just, so anyway, it was useless to me to have the horse because it was like not that much faster. And also the little carts get you places faster than the horse can, and you can't take the horse on a cart.
Yeah, but like, for example, if I need to go to the blacksmith, I take the horse to the cart, zap to the blacksmith, zap back, get on the horse.
Yeah, but then what if you wanted to do stuff in town and then you leave your horse up by the cave and it's like I wasn't planning on going back to the cave.
Is it back there?
Anyway.
You have to see this horse. You have to see this horse.
Listen, Mateus,
Look
you don't need
at
a horse.
this horse. It's so cute. Meridian has named her horse Bella. And whenever she gets on Bella, she goes, "Come on, Bella, let's ride." It's really, really cute. Apparently the horse can have little earmuffs too. Isn't that darling? Anyway. Yeah,
Anyway.
So, back to, what are we doing, conlings?
Ooh, Mateus named his dog Spencer.
That's, you come from the Meridian school of naming. All of the names for her many animals, which are what make us all our money. She names them names that I feel like would have been really popular in the 1920s or 30s. Olivia, Vivian, Sophia.
Those are coming back, you know.
Because of Meridian, she's bringing them back.
They were already back when I was in the classroom because there were students of all those names were in my classes, and I had multiple Sophies and Sophias.
I'm imagining
I had more than one Olivia as well.
Imagine you calling roll. Caden, Olivia. Caden, Jaden, Vivian. Yeah.
Don't forget Peyton.
Oh, God.
But anyway, I could see, and Mateus's, by the way, Mateus's chosen romance is Sebastian.
Oh, God.
What? Sebastian's cool. He's, got his little game room. And you don't like Sebastian? Never mind. Okay.
Is that the one, if I'm remembering right, that's the one that says, "Don't talk to me," right?
Are you thinking Shane? Like, Sebastian is the one who, like, he's usually by water somewhere. Like, he'll usually stand, or at the game thing.
Okay, yeah. He's okay. I was, yes, I was thinking of Shane. He's the one that's the real downer. I haven't found any...
You haven't found your Stardew person yet?
I haven't found any of the male characters to be at all interesting. Like, you can just put them all in a trash bag and toss them in the ocean. Every single one. The only
Harvey? He's a doctor.
The only one that comes remotely close is Willie. He seems to have his life together. He's decided he's devoted to fishing, and that's what he's going to do. And more power to him.
What about Demetrius? You can't marry him, but Demetrius is the scientist.
Look at me, science thing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That's my personality.
David.
Terrible.
I know, David could not be possibly more wrong, indeed. Anyway.
Yep.
I was working through, like, marrying all of the different townspeoples just to see for myself all the cutscenes that happen when you, like, propose and do all that kind of stuff, because they all have different cutscenes that are character specific. So I was in all my different farms. I picked a different person every time, just that way I could see. And also so I could see what their room looked like whenever we got married, because in the house they get a room and you see what their space looks like. So.
Meridian is basing these exclusively on what that character will unlock.
Okay, it is 2:12. We should maybe...
Yeah, I forget. I think that's how far I need to push it over. Okay, so Pole, Conlang, Foxling. So I'm not going to get distracted by chat because we really could talk about that for hours. Look at that. I'm just pushing it over.
The Stardew Valley.
Yeah. So that's all on screen. That's all on screen. So as a recap, for those, especially for the thousands of viewers we have tuning in for the very first time, this is just for you. We are creating a language for foxes. This language for foxes is going to be a sister language of our dog language, which means it's going to be derived from the same proto-source. Our dog language is an SVO, completely analytical language, right? Like the only affixation we have is derivation. Is that correct? Pretty sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only like semi-borderline cases are that we do have crossword boundary lenition, but
yeah.
Other than that, like that's, and even the derivations that do attach, like it's still very limited. And compounds, I guess compounds happen. Do we push those together? Do compounds get pushed together?
Yeah.
Okay, so compounds get pushed together.
Yeah. By the way, my we were looking at old photos, and my mother commented of how apparently my Adam's apple has shrunk. She was like, "Oh, look at that! Your Adam's apple was so much more pronounced." It's like, how do you notice, and who cares? And she proposed, like, well, you put on a little fat.
She said it differently, I want to say, and then she tried to bounce back from the gaining weight thing, which sounded like, yes, that's what she sounded like she intended to say. She tried to come back from it by saying, well, you've gotten older. And so at the end of the day, she was saying, you can't see your Adam's apple as well anymore because you're fat and old. That's it.
Yeah.
Neither of which is true, but...
You know how in video games they show characters aging, usually by, like, giving them, I don't know, little bags under the eyes or making their hair gray. It would kind of be funny if, nice young guy has like an Adam's apple out to here, and then when you see him aging, it's shrunken,
shrink.
and like it like.
Jake is asking if this is the forced trans surgeries that they hear about happening stateside.
I would be unstoppable as a woman.
I mean, a lot of people already think you are.
Been getting those messages my whole life. Mm.
Oh, man.
I think possibly the first time, though, was in Spain, where, I don't know, I guess they just were not used to having male children with long hair. And
Oh,
long meant
like when you were 10?
long meant like
11?
slightly longer than this. But yeah, a man went up to my mother on the train because it was a long train ride and it was hot out. And he says, would your little daughter like some bread and cheese?"
It's the first time, huh?
11 years old. Little did I know that would be the start of something.
I gotta say, I as a baby, everyone thought I was a boy until I was like 2. But then I don't think I've been
Because of your little slugger
called
shirts.
sir anymore since then. Well, that and I had no hair till I was much older. So.
Really?
Oh yeah, have you seen baby pictures? Like I was a little bald baby, and blondes often are because you can't see what hair is growing, and it grows very fine, and so yeah, a lot. And for whatever reason, people don't think, oh, bald baby, you're a blonde baby. That just happens. They immediately are like, oh, what a cute little boy, and it baffles me because that happens a lot.
Yeah. So, by the way, a quick hello to Tethys, and thank you for effectively completing our friends quest on Duolingo.
You were no help, huh?
I mean, I think it's still going, but I'm just telling you, I'm not gonna be pulling my weight. I'm very sorry. We do our Hungarian lesson. We do it well, and I used the experience boost this time, so I got a little bit more, but that's about it. Did you know that in Hungarian, all right, so the accusative is associated with T, very similar to kind of the S in English, where if it can just glom on, it does, and if it needs an epenthetic vowel, it inserts an epenthetic vowel that is harmonic, lightly harmonic. So parkot, they don't like parked, even though we would. They say it's for parkot, right?
But they like lant.
And that was what I was going to share. So
Sorry.
there's a word for girl. It is lang, lang. It's a long front vowel, an L, and it ends with palatal nasal, lang. And the accusative is langt, langt. It's palatal nasal followed by T.
I will say, David, whenever
Big
I
langt.
said that
Hey,
was
girl.
the form the sentence needed, David was like, no, they would never.
They would never.
And then he had to check it.
And then they went and would.
Right. They went and would and did.
It's like how they took kni from Slavic and turned it into konj with palatal
for
nasal, then V, konj, konj.
Because then Kunftbar is in the library. Right?
Kunftar. Kunftar is library. Kunftarban. Kunftarban? No, Kunftarban is in the library. All right. We're going far afield. Okay, so.
Yes, Miles, you should go back on Duolingo.
Yeah, come on, Miles. We're all doing it. The point of introducing Halkov was to say that this language that we're doing, even though it's a sister language derived from the same proto-language, is not going to be analytical. We are going to have inflections. And so we thought a good place to start would be subject agreement. We have in this language first and second singular and plural pronouns, exactly like the cat language. We don't have third person pronouns. I don't know why we did that twice in a row. Anyway, and they all have just protoforms that are basic. And so, of course, I is Rolf. No, that's why we did that. Oh my gosh. First person plural is almost backwards. Her. And then you, bo. Plural. Do. Anyway, we decided that we were going to have these become subject agreement suffixes. And we're going to do this in two ways. We're going to ignore the onsets for this. We were just looking at kind of like what might happen with the vowel and the coda. We had three different options for folks to consider. Option A was that the codas were retained. in exactly the state they would be if you applied the sound changes. So this meant that ultimately first person singular through second person plural, remember first singular, first plural, second singular, second plural would be off, ar, o, and och. Okay? So that's a very light hand. This is what our inflections would look like. 4 different ones. Option B, we get rid of the coda consonants, but have it compensatorily lengthen the vowel where a coda was deleted. This actually results in the first person singular and plural being identical, both of them along ah. Second person singular would be o, second person plural would be o, long. It's a very strange system, but it's a type of thing that you see at weird times. Mm-hmm. And so it would be fun. It would be fun. Option C, radical reduction. It's like the above, but we get rid of the lengthening. And so now it's just a first person versus second person distinction. Ah versus o. And so this is much more agreement rather than what one might call marking. And so if we went with C, it would probably be the case that we wouldn't be dropping subject pronouns.
Right.
Anyway, option D, what we called veting. This is where, how do we explain this? So the weak fricative just gets dropped and no lengthening. R, remember that in the protoform it's like a r, kind of becomes a U, a W. So R becomes ow. And then O. I'm sorry. No. It wasn't because the proto is an upside down R. And then so O becomes also kind of a W, O. Both of them, this happens at such an early stage that both of them become va. And so now first person singular versus plural is a, of. And second person singular versus second person plural is o, ov.
Which creates a cool sort of false analogy.
Yes.
System. False folk etymology, I suppose we could say.
Yeah.
I guess a folk etymology is
Folk.
false. I don't need it.
Folk etymology.
Folk
etymology.
Etymology.
Okay. And so we also had the idea that if we saw this even though we didn't have any third person agreement, this might get reanalyzed. So you go of, o, ov. Well, maybe third person plural has some sort of a v attached to it, thrown right on the end of a vowel or with an epenthetic vowel inserted if necessary for third person plural. So then third person singular would be no marking, third person plural would be this just generic plural marking. Anyway, those were the 4 options. And there was some heated discussion about this poll. Some people saying that, for example, that there was only one wrong option, and that was D. The votes said different. There were a paltry number of votes for A, B, and C. All of them, not even worth totaling up. The overwhelming winner by a wide margin was D. Massive win. Landslide win.
Nemo is disappointed in the democracy for this poll. Gotta say. This is well, never mind. I won't even go there. Being disappointed in democracy of votes. Okay. So I actually am excited for that because I think it is fun.
Ditto.
And so I'm happy with that. So like my brain is bouncing in so many directions today. And David, I forgot to tell you earlier, but I gotta say it now or it's gonna keep playing in the back of my head and it'll keep distracting me. But in the revised article that I sent you, there's a whole note to you about my romanization methods, and I was thinking about it as we were talking about this. So you're mentioned now. I sent David a thing that may at some point show up on Fiat Lingua.
Woo-hoo!
But there were some edits, and I added a whole section just for him. Anyway.
Hello, Satoru. How's it going? That's it.
Nice.
Until there's
I'm
more.
also
Falcon.
feeling
Falcon.
like I should have brought my notebook over, so I think I'm gonna run and get that, and then I think we should go to the verb section and start looking at what we may tentatively start typing up as a verb chart.
Oh, ooh, Satoru is using conlang year.
Hurrah!
This raises another conlang adjacent thing. They're asking about the American pronunciation of falcon. Like in Star Wars, the original Star Wars, they just made up a bunch of names. Usually, they would make up names by just looking at two names in a magazine and then mashing them together. But some of the names, like R2D2 and C3PO, are based on sequences of English numbers and letters that they later tried to say, oh, actually, it's just a coincidence. It's 3PO, a name that just sounds like that, and then C is also just an accident. And they would try to say also, oh yeah, it's not a falcon, as in the Millennium Falcon, it's the Millennium Falcon, a different thing. And they do pronounce it falcon throughout because of that. Yeah.
I'm so confused.
It's terrible.
Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh, I just learned a new word. I was looking.
By the way, I'm going to switch to Pages View. There we go.
Did you know? There is a word for the male hawk? The tiercel?
How's it spelled?
Tiercel. However, you can also spell it Tercel. That's a secondary spelling.
I'm surprised I didn't see that in some RPG at some point in time, because I don't recall ever having seen that.
Wow. So it's especially associated with a peregrine or goshawk hawk. Looks like ghost hawk, but looks like it's pronounced goshawk. Like it's Gos and then hawk.
No idea for birds of
But
calm.
it's stressed on the first. Goshawk.
Gossip girl, like it.
It's from goose plus hawk in Old English.
Oh.
But it just kind of reduced in a weird way. Anyway. I've never heard it before. I've never seen it before. And so I was very like, what is this? But it's, gossip.
A gossick is just a hawk that runs goss.
The goss columns?
As opposed to like Apple,
I don't understand it. You've lost me.
Instead of running DOS.
Oh, no, that joke was too old. Sorry.
Man.
Oh, yeah. Here's my notes on how I might curvy up the...
Oh, I saw him.
Nice.
I also appreciate when it was you were doing that.
Anyway, David.
Oh my gosh. Kanahauka is, of course, chicken hawk.
Kanahauka. I love it.
They just borrowed hawk?
I bet not. I bet we stole it from them.
Or is that some kind of crazy coincidence?
I'm looking it up.
Okay.
Okay. It was borrowed, but back in Proto-Germanic to Proto-Finnic days.
Oh, yeah.
And so habuka was the borrowing. Habukas was Proto-Germanic, and then habuka. So, yes, borrowed, but very old borrowing. I wonder what it is then in Hungarian.
I'm gonna
Does
say.
anyone know what it is in Hungarian?
I'm gonna guess it's Münftam. Münftam.
Hawk? Gotta go there because it's not related, so...
Mateus looking forward to having time to Conley again once he's able to make enough progress in Stardew Valley that he can get some time off. Heya? What a wonderful, like, Heja?
Mm-hmm. With a long E. Heya.
What a wonderful word. Heya. So in the accusative, heyat or heyat? In other words, does the vowel lengthen?
Oh. Unlike hawk in English, heya is not used in Hungarian to describe any hawks in the subfamily Bucsonainae, e.g. the common buzzard. Rather, one should use urluv. And apparently the etymology for heya, whose definition is hawk, is from the interjection hey. Okay, so yes, a buzzard.
It's flying.
Buzzard and various hawks and other birds of prey in the subfamily Butioninae, I have no idea how that's said, is urluv. Oh, pronounce uv, because the L disappears as it does. Uv.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Uv. And that comes from a Turkic language. Okay, you asked something about hawk, though. Heya, and then heyak is plural with long A. Heyak.
With a K? No, not the plural, the accusative.
Accusative is long A.
Long
Heyak.
A. Wow.
But a goshawk, is a heya. So that that word we were talking about.
Look at Mateus.
Oh God, my eyes got really big on that. Sorry, I was very excited.
Yeah, gossip
I went all big-eyed.
Flying into a courtyard, chasing a raccoon.
Woo!
my.
I see a hawk, I think hawk. I don't know anything. I don't know birds well enough, apparently, to know the sub levels of hawkdom. To know the difference between, say, peregrine, which I know are the ones that falconers use, right?
Yeah,
aren't they
falcon.
usually peregrine?
Mm-hmm.
Versus a other type. Oh, Mateus identified it with an app. All right.
So,
Miles almost hit an eagle trying to scoop up some carcass on the way to work this morning. Can we stop and have a conversation about this sentence that Miles just dropped into chat so nonchalantly? What?
I assumed that was how all of you all would use it. You'd use that as a mass noun.
Well, the way that it's used in the sentence, I'm assuming the carcass was not whole.
Or it's some in the some pig, variety of usage.
Like, like there's just some, we don't know what it is, carcass. Okay. David, let's do this. I am so distractible today.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even funny.
It was you who made the squirrel language.
And?
Yeah. So we're kind of at a point where I don't want to. I was thinking about filling in the pronoun chart, but not quite. We need to think about that. But we do have our marching orders for our agreement, and so I'm hoping. Was there a place we were doing this?
Oh, Miles wasn't trying to scoop up the carcass. The eagle was.
Yeah. I think that was clear to all of us.
I imagine Miles being like, "Oh, gotta move the roadkill off the road so no one hits it," and then an eagle almost hit it.
It's Miles
was getting the carcass.
driving to work, you know. I just can't get you out of my... Oh, no! And there's a carcass over there. Miles slams on the brakes, pulls over. Stop, everybody. We got to get this thing off the road.
Oh, my God. Okay.
It's called carry on for a reason. You carry it on off somewhere else.
I don't know why, which is why I was so confused by Miles's comment and how nobody else was like, we've got to talk to Miles about this. Nobody else was doing that. Everyone else was like, yeah. Of course Miles is out there scooping a carcass. Woo! And then I had a dead bird in my freezer for a week. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go on, David. I am slayed.
Jake visiting Miles, going into the freezer, seeing a paper bag. Dead bird, do not eat. I don't know what I expected.
Okay. I am back.
We're doing it, by the way. We're
Magpie interpreted it the same way I did. Thank you, Magpie. Thank you.
you know what that sounded like, Jake, at least in my head. It sounded like Noel on the IT crowd doing his character, his goth character.
Oh.
So we need to write this down. I was hoping we were making some notes somewhere. Oh, here, there are notes, ideas. All right. Okay.
Yeah, we were trying to make a note section.
Okay. So, based on VJC, I think that R and H are weak enough that they can disappear. So,
wasn't that part of the poll?
well, now we have to deal with the other end of it, the left side of it.
Because we had said we weren't going to. We were just looking at the endings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so let's take...
it's been a whole week since we had that discussion. My brain...
Let's take 3.
3 of these?
Yeah, we're going to take to guide...
Oh, verbs!
To bonk, and to join.
You sure you want to be working with me today?
Honestly, our collective goal should be to fully and completely slay Jessie, to make it so that she has to leave camera because she's just dying laughing. That's our goal.
But now that I know it, it's going to be harder to do. I'm going to be like Bibleridian and that joke-off challenge in the museum against you. The dad joke challenge.
That was so good. I forgot about that because I forget who it was. Somebody sent me an Instagram video of soccer players doing that. And it was great. But yeah, I forgot that we actually did that. Bibleridian and I had a dad joke-off challenge thing. Oh, man. That was good.
I have a video of it.
Yeah, he got me. Oh, man, that was something. All right, so we have these 3, and I chose these 3 because guide ends in a vowel, bonk ends in an accommodating consonant, and to join absolutely does not. In fact, it has the epenthetic vowel there.
Side note, Bibleridian jumped in. I wiped the floor with you. Yeah, he did.
He did. Oh my god. Oh, man. Okay.
Aw, Jake. Jake said working with me is the dream.
Because they'll gate check bags, like if it's extra, and they do it for free, right? So all you need to do is like get past security to the point, and then like you're carrying like 5 bags, And I'm like, oh, I thought I was just going to get these up in the thing. And they're like, we'll gate check these for you, you know? I'm hoping that's what Miles is referring to. So with, oh, okay. Okay.
Wait, what's your brain thinking?
We might have to do a little, an itty bitty little Polski.
Oh man, Pages is having a day again.
Yeah. Well, let's see how this goes.
I agree, Patrick. We are conlanging because sometimes you just need to let the brain go on a little venture while you think. And for me, that sometimes is quite often, which David is getting used to. Okay, so this is to guide.
Yeah, but hang on.
And you're typing singular plural distinctions, right? Like options?
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't do anything if there were 3 vowels in a row. So, like, if the H were to disappear, had we done something to indicate what would happen with 3 vowels in a row?
So, I hope everybody can kind of see what I'm struggling with here. Because if we want a short suffix, then ideally we get rid of those initial consonants. But you run into a problem when you come up with a vowel there. So let me see. I'm going to just go with gum right now. Oh, by the way, what A is this? No, it's... well, whatever. We're just going to say it's regular A, all right? Do we have a front A in this one? Do we have an A? I think we do.
No.
Don't we?
Do we? We do!
Yeah.
My gosh, I forgot.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
But I swear, am I making up a conversation that we had where we had said, what's going to happen when we get 3 in a row?
No, that was for, compounds.
We didn't type it up, though?
We did, because it was for the dog language.
It wasn't this one. What did we decide? Oh, wait, wasn't it like the pharyngeal, right?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, so I was so confused going through this document looking for something that I was like, I swear I remember having this conversation and I was typing it up, but it was our patron stream on Sunday. This past Sunday, we were working with naming dogs in Hogolf and came across a situation where we were going to need to create a compound, and we suddenly had 3 vowels coming together and we had to decide what to do. And so, yeah.
Sicilian Languages is asking if we've dealt with romanization, but no, we haven't. But I mean, it just writes itself. Like that's the whole point with
It's,
romanization. It shouldn't really be a discussion. You just write it because it's done. Once you figure out the phonology. Hmm?
I beg to differ, seeing as how we have literally had chunks of streams devoted to things like how the heck are we going to romanize Tapachla to make sure these don't overlap, and then we go forward and find out it was a major mistake and had to go back and change it 3 times, and we still more recently went back to Tapachla season 2 to re-romanize because we realized it was not good.
Well, usually if you're having problems with the romanization, it means you did your phonology wrong. And in the case of Tapachla, I mean. But yeah, I mean, hold on a sec.
Anyway, I beg to differ with David. I think it is something that you do have to think about because also sometimes you realize that, for instance, TH is a sequence, but is also a digraph, and you shouldn't have that. And so having to go back and decide what to do.
Yeah, but in this case, I mean, just look, it just writes itself. You just use the IPA, put J for J there, SH, ZH, F,
Okay,
V.
for this particular language, I think it's going to be a little easier. We also have what we did in Halvoff to work off. But this, I think, actually makes it easier than what we did in Halvoff because we got rid of a lot of things that actually made it quite difficult there. But I'm just saying I beg to differ, and romanization to me takes more thought.
I would say most of the time no, but sometimes yes. But
Well, you can't tell me what my process is.
the thing is, I trust you as a conlanger, but often it's like oh my gosh, how do I romanize this? I have a palatalized alveolar, this is all a palatalized nasal alveolar, a labialized nasal, and then of course all of those, and then they're also aspirated, and all of those, and they're also pharyngalized, and all of these are phonemes, and it's like, and of course there's also a post-alveolar and a dental, and it's like, no, you did it wrong, you conlanged wrong, sorry.
As Matei so aptly says, sometimes David's takes are like when you want a hot shower, but you still got to turn it down a little because it's a bit much. That was perfect. Okay.
Actually, though, that's the key takeaway because I think that's something conlangers often forget. The question is your romanization better than just using IPA? Sometimes the answer is no, in which case, just use IPA. It's not that bad nowadays. We have keyboard layouts, we have Unicode support, and so yeah, if you're not buying yourself anything with the romanization, just use IPA. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so let me see how. What would happen if we did that? Oh, how nice!
Did something good happen?
Yeah, what's the Oh. Oh. Oh! Oh. Oh boy. I made a little mistake. I made a little mistake, I think. Make sure. Oh! Yeah.
I think I made a mistake in Lexergy. Because I was just seeing what would happen if I threw the form DEEA. And it's giving me an error saying no syllable can start with ah. Why not? What did I do wrong, Lexergy?
Maybe it needs to be an ah, open ah.
No, we have just A typed everywhere else in this, and it works just fine. That's part of the whole de-romanization thing. I've done something wrong.
Wait. Oh my. Oh boy. This is. I apologize. There's a lot of dead air here, but and I know that there's a lot of like fun discussion happening too. But then there's also really weird conlang stuff happening.
It's giving me the error message, but when I just put A in on its own, it gives me the output ah, no problem. So it has nothing to do with
How did it do that?
the syllable structure as I understand it. It just doesn't like
How did it do that?
3 vowels in a row. But then why doesn't it just treat it as 2 syllables? Like if syllable patterns are defined as it could have 2 vowels, why wouldn't it hit the 3rd vowel and say new syllable? Does anyone understand what I did wrong?
Everybody can look at the rules in the Foxling, right? If you just go to Lexergy and examples.
Someone fix it.
Oh, darn it. Keeps deleting everything I put in Lexergy. Is this like that?
Oh, I typed in D-E-E-A. D-E-E is to leave, so it's actually a protoform. And it gives me the output D, no problem. A on its own, or like AT I typed in, that gives me an output, no problem. But D-E-E-A gives me an error and says that no syllable can start with ah, despite the fact that I literally have examples in the program where syllables start with ah, and it doesn't care. Thank you, Jake. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I wonder.
Tethys has written something. Yeah, you do see changes in real time because Jesse is working with the backend. Those things are just reflected periodically, which means that if you type stuff into the input words, it deletes them when there's a refresh.
Okay, that didn't change anything.
Would Lexergy be cuter if it were Lexerky? Like it was a turkey?
If I do at consonant, can I just do Question mark means it can or cannot be there, right?
Oh, I don't know.
No, that still hasn't fixed it. Okay. No, that's fine though. That's fine. The question is, okay, so let's undo some of these changes. I'm gonna come back to those. Okay. What if, okay, agglomation, let's do agglomation. And then I have to remind myself, I think it's, go to the support documents, glomming. Oh, glommination only has one M. Okay. Dun dun goes to dun. Right? Dun goes to dun. Okay, okay. Then we have new syllables. Okay, so let me type these in. Apply. Okay, that still gives me an error, but okay, okay. Now, this doesn't have to be word initial. So let's apply it again. Aha! Okay, I fixed one of them.
Okay, are we ready? By the way, because like I have something to present, but I don't want to interrupt. No,
Go on. Yes, yes.
No, like really, I don't want to interrupt. So you just tell me.
I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So now I'm going to need everybody's full undivided attention.
And I think
attention.
Once we figure out the order in which things are going to happen, like when these forms are going to glom on, I think I can also fix the other error that we had. Effectively, we need to input these things as two separate units and then have it glom together somewhere in the sound changes. And that'll fix what was coming up as an error. And so anyway, yes, I'm ready to pay attention, and then we need to talk about when to make that change happen so that way we can put it into Lexergy.
All right. I'm going to put things in kind of 3 different backgrounds here, okay? So I've taken these 3 test forms because one of them ends in a vowel, and as we've seen in the proto stage, it ends in 2 vowels in a row. So like there's really no getting around it. It's no like saying, well, why don't we squish the vowels together? It's not happening. One of them ends in a consonant. One of them ends in a labialized consonant that, as we know through the history of the sound changes, picks up a vowel at the end. So I've put these things on here, and I think I've come up with 3 different strategies for approaching this. And this is just the first person, singular and plural. These were more accommodating because they have weak consonants at the beginning. The second person ones have stops at the beginning. So we might have to look at that differently. But option 1, you know what, I'll go ahead and give this a background too. So we'll call that, it needs to be a little lighter than that, doesn't it? There we go.
It's showing up all highlighted. Oh,
there we go.
Okay. Oh, there we go. It was highlighting it with your orange.
Yeah.
And so it looked very brown, and I was like, that's an interesting color choice on David's part. This looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
What flag does this look like?
What flag?
Yeah. Is it Bermuda?
I don't know.
We'll find out in a minute.
Jake says Rwanda.
Ah, got it. So the blue option is a maximal option. All right. So in each of these pairs, it's first person singular on the left, first person plural on the right. And you'll note that aside from the loss of the coda weak fricative, it's like the full pronoun. So we have an epenthetic R for first person singular because it comes from the R of first person. So dira versus di have, and that H comes from the pronoun.
Mm-hmm.
When we move over to the next one, so it just ends in a regular consonant, now we can just delete them, and we don't think too much about it. So we have gamma and gamav. And then in the final column, this is where there's a little bit of a change, because we're ending with a labialized thing.
Mm-hmm.
We do get bogva there because the protovowel is a. In the plural, though, we actually get bogvov.
Because the O came from the
Schwa.
schwa.
Because our protoforms, if I can scroll up here, we have raf versus her. And here, that difference between a and schwa is showing up. Here we have the same vowel, so we don't have to worry as much. But there, that schwa is reinserting itself. And you can actually see, if you just look ahead, it's O across the board for these. And so it's not as simple as the a-av thing that we had in our poll. But only for these forms that end in a labialized consonant. Otherwise, we get the a. All right. Yellow option is essentially taking advantage of the fact that H is weak and schwa is weak.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a much sharper distinction here. Dira, div. So we're just losing the h completely. Essentially saying at some point it was, dev, and that just became dev, became dave, became div. All right? But we still get the a-av here and the a-ov here. All right? The green option is really radical reduction. This is where we're going to end up with something that looks a lot more like our Beaver language, which, I'm not going to pull it up, but I want you to try to remember that with the Beaver language, it's like we had marking for first, second, third, singular, dual, plural, but if you looked at the forms, there were only like 3 forms for all of them, and there was just massive synchrony, or whatever, the opposite of suppletion. No, I guess, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so here it's like, all right, we lost the H, we lost the coda F, we knew about that, the coda phi. And so that leaves it with a schwa, and we just say the vowel is more powerful. And so D would probably end up being the first person singular form and the third person singular form.
Third or second?
Third. Remember that those forms have stops, and so that's probably going to change things for
I
second.
thought we didn't have third person.
Third person is going to be unmarked.
Gotcha. That's what I thought you were saying, that third person was coming from somewhere. I was like, I thought we didn't have it. Okay,
Yeah.
Go on.
Because third person is effectively unmarked, so especially for a vowel final form like this, it'd just be whatever the root is, and the plural would end up just being va on the end. That was the reanalysis. Mm-hmm. So this means that first person singular and plural would look identical to third person singular and plural in this, for verbs like this. Mm-hmm. For this one, again, we're basically eliminating the distinction between first person singular and third person singular. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I did that there for that one. And in this one, it's the same thing, which means that it's just going to be the root. There's nothing that pulls it to a. And so instead of bogva, you get bogvo. So these are the 3 options that I'm imagining at this point. Mm-hmm. How does this paint you?
Thank you for extending those.
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel drawn to the yellow.
Interesting.
Because some of them would still end up conflating. But I also want to look where the change occurs for those.
Flag of Rwanda.
Oh, Mateus also likes yellow.
Might as well make a teeny little Polski just to see.
I mean, sure. Let's see where people stand. And it's like top is blue, middle is yellow, bottom is green. I feel like the H really is weak, even weaker than the R, and I feel like that would drop out in between these vowel heavy segments, which is why I like the div for the plural form, which would overlap with the third person plural. But I like the dira, and I also like the boga, which feels really weird, considering then it's going to be bogbo for the plural. And so I like that little, like, kind of unexpected surprise.
Cool.
That's what I like about it. But I feel like and that's the only difference between the blue and the yellow is the dihav versus div. And I really do think that would have leveled out. And need the order of sound changes. When do things happen?
Well, I will tell you that in order for this to work, the aggressive sound change that turns R into W must occur before W becomes beta across the board.
I think
Syncretism. Thank you, Mateus.
I think it could happen before Magpie's Miracle to make the middle one.
Let's take a look. Well, actually, I can just look at it here. Yellow did win the vote.
Ooh, Charles was here for their first LangTime vote.
Nice.
Hurrah! As David's taking a look at that, Satoru. Let me get my vowels straight. That is a pickle you have painted yourself into. If you have what you want for your final phonology, but then you want to produce protoforms that will result in those. I mean, you definitely can do that, especially if you don't have any words yet. You can just make sure that every sound change gets you to the point where you want to be. But if you do have words that you're already working with, other than saying that certain things don't change very much, and Mateus may be a little bit literal there. I heard some body painting may have happened.
That is something I would never be into.
David doesn't.
I don't like things.
Yeah,
touching
David doesn't like things. Sorry. But that's it. It's really hard. You can do it. You do have to kind of take a step back, but you may also ask yourself, is a protoform what you need, or are you creating the language as is, in which case you're doing kind of a different approach rather than a historical approach. And you may also just try to introduce some sound changes and say, I really like this as a proto form. Could I write rules so that things change but still stay within some of the parameters that I really liked about the language? Or, could I end up liking the language more with changes I introduce? You never know. Okay.
Is there some way? Oh, there is. You know what? I think I can do this. I want to see what would happen if essentially we said that this schwa thingy attached before or after Rule 15? Wait, no, Rule 17. Rule 17.
Okay, sorry, Mateus clarified that a friend is doing a competition, and so is practicing body painting. That's really cool. Okay, what numbers did you say? 15?
Rule 17. I want to see if there's any difference if schwa gets added before or after Rule 17. And I'm not quite sure how to do this in Lexergy. That rule is called what? Delabialization?
17 is delabialization. Yes. What schwa are you referring to?
Of the first person plural.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to do something.
Oh, you were doing. I was thinking after delabialization, before
Delabialization 2. Delabialization 2.
And you want to do it before that one?
Before and after. I'm okay. Give me just a second. Since I know that I'm not affecting the rules here, I'm going to delete all those rules.
Ooh, nice, Jake. Yeah, I really like that keyboard, and I find it, at first it's really clunky to get around to remember which dead key is which and how things go to what, but I've been using it long enough that I find it pretty easy now. What are you looking at, David?
Something very, 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 very strange.
Do you want to pop it up on the screen?
Well, I just deleted a bunch of rules, so I don't know if if it's because of that.
Okay.
Oh boy. Okay.
And as a side note, well, I was asking if you wanted to put it up on the screen just because no one can see what you're doing.
No, I understand.
But whatever, oh, bye, George. Whatever David does to the window he's using in Lexergy does nothing to the backside. It's only when I put things in, which is why we like to test things out in Lexergy without doing it in the real thing first. But I also put glomination in there. We could change that if that's...
Can you, wait, all I have to do is just refresh like this. Okay, hold on a sec.
Yeah, refresh or go to...
I was not evidently paying close enough attention.
What? What happened?
This happened.
Okay, so now I'm going to go down here because I feel like you typed something somewhere that you want us to look at, but I don't see anything. I'm like on the edge of my seat waiting to see what's happened.
I typed it. It's right there.
Where?
Like right there.
Okay, maybe? No. I see the same thing that was there the whole time.
This.
Okay, thank you. So what this is referring to, for anyone else confused, is that bogva and bobo
Yeah,
is
that.
the plural.
And that was just because of the thing.
But that's why if you do it before 17, that was going to happen because it's no longer word final. If you do it after... I thought if you did it after, it would keep the
That, yeah, okay. Oh boy, I'm getting really confused. Because that is Rule 10. Rule 10 is where gua becomes ba before a vowel.
Because of the Celtic rule?
So, yeah, you're right. If it happens, so if our affixation happens before Rule 10, then we should get bobov. If the vowel is enshorted after word final labialized consonants. So 10 and 11 are the most relevant then.
What I don't understand though, like what you're saying is the RA would block that, but
Yeah.
HA would not.
Oh, I kind of ignored it because it turned into errors in Lexergy.
The H?
Yeah.
Right, but like we shouldn't ignore it as a discussion. That means I need to figure out what I did wrong in Lexergy, not the discussion.
Maybe.
Because if at this point we're saying the R is technically there and then drops out after it comes together, because otherwise it should be boba instead of bogva.
Yeah, you're right.
I think we need to.
Oh, I think you're right. Okay. So, So then, at what point in time does this schwa become an O instead of an A? Let's put all those back. Ah! Sorry.
It is Schwappy Trails.
Okay.
See, I don't know what number that is.
Oh, that's pretty late, isn't it? 21. That's sound change 21. So it absolutely was going to occur before 21. Other instances of schwa become O after round vowels. And the rest of the schwas become O elsewhere. Oh, interesting. Interesting.
The op versus ov has nothing to do with the labialized thing. Like, hug, meaning to set, would also take ov because it's a rounded vowel in the base. And so that schwa from the plural.
Okay. So the O has nothing to do with the labialization. It's only the fact that the previous vowel was O. Okay.
Right, because it's rounded, and so the schwa is changing.
Yes.
Based on that.
Okay. All right. So then, the end result of this, the upshot is yellow should be fine, yeah?
Yellow should be fine, but I'm not completely understanding where in the sound changes these would come together.
Somewhere before 17.
If it comes together before 17.
But after 11.
But after 11. Okay, I'm just going to check something. I'm going to play around with my side of it.
Oh.
What?
George left. Reminder, Tongues and Runes, Saturday at 6 a.m. Pacific. Yeah.
17 was delabialization the second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ho ho! I don't get errors anymore. I put glomination. Right now, there's a space, but Miles had pointed out a way that I could put dashes, so if you prefer having hyphens to connect affixes. But for now, if we just put a word space. So now, David, if you refresh and type in like DEE and then space A or RA, I guess in this case. And also that final, that Beauvoir, no longer gives an error. It actually gives a form. So the final one, that was like my input.
Yeah. Getting a spam risk call. Do I feel like rolling the dice?
Not on screen. Okay, so that at least like we have then, and I know that's not the actual form. I just put D, E, E, A, just see like what would happen with these vowels, and it's just like D, which I think these foxes would be okay with for certain segments coming together. That's not what's going to happen here, but like I think they'd be okay with things like that.
All right. Well,
in the larger sense. Are you ready to celebrate?
Yes.
That I heard the intonation. Yay. David.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta look at me before I throw this at you.
I did it.
Hooray!
Cheers, work partner.
God, I dropped it. There we go. Cheers.
Jake also found a Kopiko. It's weirdly soft.
I feel like that means it may not be the best. I'm curious to see what...
Kopiko, good hard or soft.
David's painting a picture. Quite the opposite, Patrick. I didn't want to waste a Kopiko. Yeah, this is a family stream.
Of course it is. We're family.
David. Beg to differ, Mateus. Cookies are best soft. Most cookies. I'm trying to think of a cookie I prefer hard. I guess shortbread. I want that to be crispy. But the majority of cookies I think are better soft.
Nice, Patrick. All right. Well, let's look at the dreaded second person now. So both the second person, they're both pharyngeal.
But that doesn't, I'm reminding myself. Alright, this is 2. Boo. The upside down R. Upside down capital R. Nope, that was not that.
Ah!
Okay. So just put them in Lexergy without thinking about how else they may change or shift. To lead, like, I feel like we would just get the T and B in general between vowels, right? Like dito and dibo.
We have no nasal assimilation rule.
We can fix that.
Oh, you keep...
What?
I keep replacing the things that I have put into Lexergy.
Okay, I'm done.
I just see D a bunch.
It's the three forms: D, gum, and bog.
I guess I need to wait for mine to refresh.
I didn't know it affected your word list in Lexergy, and I can't see what you're doing on the screen. And so you need to communicate these issues instead of just growling at me.
It's called Germunication.
That was good. That was good. That made the blood rush to my face. I feel myself heating up as I'm laughing really hard, but not wanting to choke on the Kopiko. What? Okay.
Hey, Jesse.
Everyone's getting a great shot of you.
What's that color on your neck?
Probably radish.
It's pronounced reddish, Jesse. Reddish. You like that Adam's apple, Jim? I know it's harder to see nowadays.
I don't know, stretch again. I wasn't looking.
I'm going on and oh, that one could be a real one. Well done, Jay. Well done. Oh, that's right. Did you know that they say "Where's Wally"? And
That was an LA number.
yeah, I know it was an
Oh,
LA
okay.
number.
All right.
Well,
Did it update for you?
Yeah, that's obviously not right.
Well, it's just a starting point to say what would happen if they just smashed together with nothing else. Now we have to discuss.
So no, I'm getting errors because those things are attaching pretty late.
Where are you getting errors? Mine is not giving me errors.
You get errors if you put the T and the B next to each other, because these are being added after there's a vowel inserted, and I don't know about that. What happens if...
I don't know what you're referring to because I don't see any T and B together.
I know, it's as they're being put into Lexergy, they have been added as if... Oh crap, I changed the top one, not the bottom. Sorry. When they're being added to Lexergy, they're basically being added directly after this form with no internal stuff happening at all. And I don't know if we necessarily want to do that.
move glommination around and see what happens. I can't do anything without it messing you up.
I can be messed up now, but we never talked about what would happen if, say, a labialized stop came next to another stop or something like that. Let me try to get the flavor of this, because this is probably honestly still going to be that. But now if we want to get things pretty short, that's still going to be that. That's still going to be that. But this, absolutely, it should be like they come next to each other. I think that's going to be that. And this is going to be... Well, actually, I don't know. It could be that. It could be this. And this could be that. Or they could be geminates. This could be.
I think I have to do a completely different browser to be able to do this without actually affecting.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. This is, that should probably be that, and then this would be that, and this would be that, and that would be that, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Ah! Uh-huh.
What was uh-huh? Okay, if, no wait, I think I can open it on this one. Let me see. I just can't see chat then. Okay. So,
I think we just need to talk about what we want.
and when you say that,
Yeah, sorry, Miles. It's we're looking at. Here is this. This is. And then down here, it's that. Also, so second person is the one that's the toughest because it's giving us these stops that we don't really know what to do with. I think third person, singular and plural, is pretty clear, and so I'm just gonna write those. And the thing is, that's going to be the same no matter what.
David.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, other than the fact that we...
You're so good looking.
Other than the fact that we haven't discussed, some other assimilation changes. Okay, and I'm hoping I will remember this. I'm going to change it in the Lexergy, and if we don't like it, well, hopefully somebody remembers. And then glumination, I had moved up. I feel like here. Okay. Okay. I made some changes to Lexergy. I want you to now refresh and look at what it's giving you. Oh, and thank you for the blush use. Based on this now, we don't get an error in those forms. And they've been reduced. You can see them smashed together. I've moved the glumination earlier to just after the Celtic style shift. And then I changed the rule for the W dropping for those labialized consonants to be like it's got to be at a word boundary. It can't be internal, because at this point now they're smashed together, and if you're now a labialized consonant that butts up to something else, you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
Now we need to talk about whether we want that to happen when there's a vowel after it, like bog followed by ah.
I mean, no. But, okay. So this is what I would like you to look at. Jess, I want you to look at second person. And I want you to look at blue versus yellow.
Okay.
So just the Bogva forms. That's it. Just blue versus yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the idea of certain, basically verbs ending in certain consonants being much bigger than all the other verbs? Or, as in yellow, figuring out what happens to every single consonant sequence? Not every single consonant sequence. Every single consonant B, consonant T sequence. I guess we kind of have to do that anyway.
I prefer that.
Yeah?
The yellow.
Yeah.
Because the blue is too big.
Got it.
And I think that if we smash these together before the W's drop, then I think I think that they're going to interact, and we should figure out what happens.
Okay, then we have our next decision point. We're very close to this.
Okay.
It's going to be really interesting if we create some tense or aspect or something and it comes before this agreement, but we'll deal with that later. All right, so now for the consonants, let's jump up here to the proto. So we have stops. We have, oh, I guess only really it's just, they're all weak fricatives. So then we have but stops come until labialized non. Fricatives, same thing, labialized and non. We have our one nasal, and then we have our approximants. And so let's consider, not that color, that color. I'm just going to create some nonce forms here.
I got something with glasses.
So, let's say ob. We have, that'll, does it become obo or obo? And then we have op, tov, otov, or otov. In other words, does it basically disappear, right? And then we have kind of maybe a decision point here where this is this coming abo, abo. And then octove, octove. But then this one.
Do you potentially agree that really what's happening is we are building up potential options for the poll for this week?
Maybe. But maybe some of the options are going to be so bad that we just don't want that. And so I did these last two specifically because we might say there's a point at which G assimilates to B, but not GW, and then GW loses its stuff. And so, like, with a G, og, it ends up becoming obbo, but agwa ends up becoming ogbo.
Oh, interesting, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, easy thing is just to delete them all, which would be the last option for all of these. It's like, oh, if it's a stop, it just gets deleted. Fricatives.
As a suffix, like
yeah.
So the root would retain its form.
Yeah. What? No. No, the final consonant of the.
Of the root.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a question of voicing and whether it assimilates forwards or backwards. Also a question of what happens with those fricatives, if there's going to be a similar distinction with the hua versus ha, or there isn't. And now I just want to see what happens with the, I don't think the, I think the approximants are all fine. What approximants do we have? We have R, L, LW, LW. We have LW.
In the protos we do. We get rid of that really early though, I think. W, R, L, LW. Yes, those are the four approximants of protoforms.
Errors with Lexergy for LW.
Okay, so maybe it has not happened then as early as I thought. Okay, glommination occurs there. Why doesn't it just turn? What does it say for the error when you?
The error is the segment ta, the Frenchalized T, in AWW period.
Because the LW goes to a WW everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then we get rid of that later, right? Or do we keep that?
Shouldn't it just come out as a W? Let me see. ALW becomes awa. Yeah, it should just be a W, yeah.
Okay.
So we'd have to make a note of that because I think it's the only place where W could be a coda. Is that right?
Also, if it just comes from an L word finally, it becomes a W.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Velar lateral punting, the very last roll.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, then it's fine. Yeah, we just have it as a W. But I will say it doesn't become a W before B in our sound changes. I don't know if that was an accident. So albo becomes albo, not albo. Did we mean for that to happen?
We had never considered a W being followed by a B.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't have been
Okay.
where we got these W's.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things we need to figure out. I think I see what needs to happen, but I don't want to mess with it because you've got things in Luxurgy.
Go ahead. I'm done there. Okay, and then ah.
Would you want all coda L's going to a W instead of just word final ones?
I don't know.
Okay, because that would be like, because again, we had only imagined codas being word final,
Yeah.
until we started adding things.
It feels
If
like
we were going to make all codas, then I could just change that to either word boundary
Yeah.
or.
yeah. I mean, I feel like right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it matches
Yeah.
the spirit.
Yeah. I feel like I'm bringing Miles's energy to this stream today.
Okay. And you had just put in like an A. Oops.
Okay, so that actually takes care of that question. So yeah, let's just say those things become the same. We're gonna have the nasals assimilate. Fricatives.
I'm going to trace the changes and see where this breaks down. The very end. Okay.
Okay.
Why isn't we have a language-wide rule that just says WW goes to W.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't it taking effect?
Maybe it hasn't happened early enough. Because it's trying to re-syllabify or whatever before
Right
it hits
after?
them.
Okay.
So I think really we're just looking at the stops and fricatives.
Haha. Haha. Okay.
All right. Okay, so yeah, I'll figure out how to make a poll out of this. We're just going to be looking at the stops and fricatives, I think. For the fricatives, it's merely a question of, so it's like as it stands right now, at the end of a word, let's say we have ha, we have ra, and we have shoot. Oh no, wait, I found a way around that. Sorry. We have fa, va, cha, ra, and ha. So we have 5 different fricatives at the end of a word. And so we are going to be looking at those environments before ba and ta and seeing if we like them.
Okay.
And then seeing if there's some assimilation that takes place. If we're going to offer an option where it happens with cha, say, but not hua. And so that's what we're going to be figuring out. And I think it's like really only a question of like, you know, well, the fricatives can be wily. I think a lot of different things can happen. So we might have to open things up there. But so help me, after this we will have our inflection. Our first inflection. And then we can move on and talk about case for a little bit before going back to the verbs. And yes, Tinglish proto-language has B but not P.
So I do have a question for you that we can figure out here, since that takes a lot.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to think about there. Okay, so first, like if we have wa as a protoform, it comes out as wa.
We do? Really? It doesn't come out as ba?
According to Lexergy, it comes out as wa. AW comes out as av.
I'm going to put this on screen.
Because W goes to beta when it occurs after a vowel.
Yeah.
But not when it occurs before a vowel.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got wa. So the way I rewrote the LW rule was just that if there was a consonant after it, it would become a W instead of a WW. And so it would only become a WW intervocalically, basically. So that leaves us with roi. If it's an onset, comes out as wa. But if it's artu, it comes out as avsu. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to change it so that it goes to an L and then later it can go to a W?
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
Just want to look at things. Interesting. Oh. Interesting. So the LW comes out as beta, but the
When it's
L,
after a vowel, right?
but the L comes out as W. Also, why are all these becoming S?
Because of our spirantization, where the T becomes an S, but then the pharyngealized T becomes a T. And so we get a regular T from the pharyngealized T.
Oh, so we actually have to put the pharyngealization.
Yeah, I just didn't.
Yeah, no, I
like,
understand.
I was just testing what would happen between consonants. I was like, that was too much work to copy and paste that little thing.
Because the S like leads to even greater possibilities.
Right.
This is fine. So yeah, this is kind of interesting because one of the problems that we had throughout this was trying to make it so that there was some distinction between this proto-L and proto-LW. And this is a way to do that.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Angala, where we were desperately trying to show that there was some distinction between prenasalized Z and then just NZ sequence.
Right.
We ended up having to spell it MZ in the font. Oh, God. What a disaster.
Okay, but that means that as it stands, Lexergy can handle the forms we're throwing at it, which is incredibly important for us to then have this discussion of what do we want to have happen at the boundaries of these consonants interacting. What I'm fine with is saying, I don't know how to write this into Lexergy, so we could enter the same form. I may need to get comfortable and kind of play around with the suggestion Miles had with the hyphen, because then I can say, like, if something occurs after the hyphen, like if an RA occurs after the hyphen, the R drops out. Like, we can kind of have certain things that happen, but it feels like it's so specific that it's like, why not just say it's an A after consonants and it's an RA after vowels?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
So in that case, like, I think then what we would just need to do is figure out, here's what we're getting. Like, we're getting gum tol. Are we happy with MT, or do we want it to become ganto? Things like that.
Yeah, and there's definitely going to be some voicing assimilation here. So avto is going to become apto, so on.
OMG. If it became ganto, we would be introducing the N into the modern language. We don't have an N.
Ooh, it wasn't in there before?
No, all we have is M.
No, it's definitely got to be in there.
I mean, we've had no reason yet, because again, like, this pushing together is the first time that we're having M not as an onset or coda that's word initial or word final. It's now occurring medially, and this is where it's going to interact with other sounds to change it from its bilabial position. And so this actually gives us a new little inventory.
It does, or maybe it gives us a reason to say it doesn't become ganto, and it doesn't stay gamto, it becomes gampto. Gampto.
Gampto or gampo?
I think
Could it go all the way?
I think gampo is going a bit far at this stage. Gampto really makes more sense, but
It's something. Well, that's another thing we could then,
gosh.
As we're coming up
poles within poles.
Well, and like, really, what I think we may want to focus on is.
Oh gosh, and then there's that Nemo suggesting gammo.
Oh, gammo.
Yeah. No, not voicing assimilation like that. That's too far, Danielle. Not for this. Not for this. It's too far.
That's an N and a voicing. Oh. What do you think this is? Tfachta?
Just turns everything into nasals after that.
Just everything.
It'd be funny. It turns every consonant into a nasal after it, and then if a word ends in a nasal consonant, it renasalizes all the vowels beforehand, and then a consonant turns into a nasal if it's followed by a nasal vowel.
And so it just keeps bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, and so it's it's gum in third person singular, and then mom in the second person plural.
Oh, not to Conley.
Woo.
101. It's like aggressive nasal harmony.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know we have a really big road ahead of us, David. But I am really happy with this rest stop that we have arrived at for this episode. And I'm really happy with some decisions we made, and with the current version of Lexergy, which makes me remember I need to export just in case something happens and, things get wiped in Lexergy servers for some hopefully never going to happen reason. But I have just downloaded the Lexergy file so that if that happens, we're good.
By the way, the rules that we're eventually going to come up with as a result of this poll, I think are going to be very useful to us to hang on to remember generally throughout the course of the language as we look at not just compounds, but case prefixes, which will be next.
Yes, because those prepositions are going to zoom.
Yep.
And we're going to get some prefixes, which means we're getting some more interaction anyway. And so I'm I'm really excited.
All right.
This is like, it's really interesting because it's like you look at our languages and how much can get, put together, and this is so minor in the grand scheme of what we could choose to have as affixes, and yet it's huge for this particular language family, and so it's very exciting, I think.
All right.
Yay! All right. Well, at this rest stop, we have the house restrooms that we have available and leftovers as food options. And so that is where we are.
That would be interesting if there was a restaurant that had an ordinary menu and then there was one where it was just like under combinations. It just said leftovers.
From like yesterday's
It
specials.
just says leftovers and it has a price on it. It's the same price each time. It's like $11.99. Plate of leftovers.
Plate of basically a little bit of everything, a little smorgasbord.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually listen, less food waste, and you get to try a lot of little things. That could be fun, except for people with food allergies who suddenly are like, well, shit, this is on the same plate and I can't eat this.
Yeah, I can imagine a restaurant just leaning into it. All of their dishes have some sort of allergen in them.
I'm just saying, deal or leave. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for sticking with us as we wandered into our conlang journey today, but we got there, and I got there in a strong place. So thank you all, and we will see you next week.
Yes, indeed. I guess it's
David
just,
signs
it's
us off. Until then, stay grammar.
Indeed. Bye, everybody.
Bye.